Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and essentially build a complete operating system for the modern professional. We're navigating an era that is just completely unlike any other, completely marked by the rapid rise of agentic technology. And to actually thrive in this environment, we've got to completely upgrade how we think about our own capabilities. Because this right here is the absolute defining question of our time. How do we stay relevant when AI is actively thinking, creating, and problem solving right alongside us? The future of work isn't some distant horizon anymore. It's our present reality. The rules have totally changed, and the skills that got us to this point definitely aren't going to get us to the next. So, to answer that, here is our roadmap. We're going to cover 1. The AI co creator era, 2. IQ, the cognitive engine, 3. EQ, the relational engine, 4. SQ, the inner compass, 5. AI needs a human why, and finally 6. The age of self leadership. Let's start with Section 1, the AI co-creator era, working alongside digital agents. Get this staggering number from recent Deloitte research. 36% of today's managers actually expect to be managing non-human digital agents within just the next 5 years. We're not just talking about using software as a passive tool anymore. We are literally talking about directing non-human actors that take their own initiative. And this massive technological shift means we have to completely rethink the very nature of human expertise. Moving to Section 2, IQ, the cognitive engine, the capacity to process complexity. So, as AI steps in to handle more of the routine tasks, we've got to turn to our first human pillar, which is IQ. Think of this as our cognitive brain, our think engine. Researcher Linda Gottfredson explains that this general intelligence, what she calls the G factor, isn't just about book smarts. It's this highly adaptable capability to contrast, abstract, and process the immense complexity of our modern, information-dense lives. It is our ability to mentally manipulate information, fill in the gaps, and solve completely novel problems when we're faced with uncertainty. And this data from McKinsey on the workforce of the future paints a perfect picture of why this matters. While the demand for basic cognitive and data processing skills is dropping by 19%, mostly because machines are just taking over straightforward data input, the need for higher cognitive skills is surging by that exact same amount, 19%. Skills like creativity, critical thinking, decision-making, processing complex information is at an absolute premium right now. That brings us to Section 3, EQ, the relational engine, managing ourselves and others. But here's the catch, right? Raw processing power just isn't enough on its own. It really doesn't matter how fast your cognitive engine runs if you completely crash at the very first social roadblock. So think of EQ as the manage engine. It's the self-regulatory resource that lets us manage our own emotions and, crucially, use empathy and social skills to work effectively with other people. As tech adoption accelerates, the need for these finely tuned social and emotional skills, things machines are nowhere near mastering, is growing incredibly fast across literally all industries. Psychologist Daniel Goleman really brought this into the mainstream. He famously said that emotional intelligence is the sine qua non of leadership. Basically, it's the absolutely indispensable condition. His landmark research showed that a person can have the best training, an incredibly incisive mind, an endless supply of great ideas, but without EQ, they still won't make a great leader. IQ just gets you in the door. It's the entry-level requirement. Goleman broke EQ down into 5 core components. You need self-awareness to know your own drives, self-regulation to control those biological impulses, motivation to actually achieve, empathy to understand what others are feeling, and social skill to build rapport. And these are so critical that when you compare average performers to star performers in senior leadership, nearly 90% of the difference in their profiles comes down to emotional intelligence factors, not just cognitive ability. 90%. That's huge. Let's look at Section 4. SQ, the inner compass, directing our values and purpose. Now we hit the most cutting-edge, profound, and honestly often overlooked pillar of our operating system, spiritual intelligence, or SQ. Think of SQ as the steering mechanism. It is the direct function. It acts as our inner compass. Because while IQ helps us solve problems, and EQ helps us navigate relationships, SQ is this higher dimension of intelligence. We use it to ask fundamental questions about meaning, value, and purpose. It is literally how we navigate ambiguity with moral and intellectual maturity. And to be clear, this isn't about religion. This is a highly measurable dimension of human intelligence. Dana Zohar actually coined the term, pointing out that it activates wisdom, compassion, and integrity. And researcher Robert Emmons defined it further as the adaptive use of spiritual information to facilitate everyday problem solving and goal attainment. Basically, it's what lets us step back, look at the big picture, and reframe situations when the old rules just don't apply anymore. Which is exactly why major global organizations are laser focused on this. The OECD Education and Skills Project created a learning compass that highlights these exact SQ-aligned traits. They realize that in a world that is this volatile and structurally imbalanced, we desperately need identity, agency, purpose, and sustainable values. As the OECD's Andreas Schleicher points out, if we fail to build these foundations for communities, people are just going to try to build walls out of fear and ignorance. On to Section 5. AI needs a human why. The amplifier meets the compass. So looking at all three of these intelligences, we have to ask a really pressing question. How do they interact with our new digital co-creators? Well, AI is a staggeringly powerful amplifier. It can process data and figure out the how at a scale and speed we can't even touch. But AI fundamentally lacks meaning. It doesn't have an inner compass. So it is entirely up to humanity to provide the why. We are the ones who must exercise moral judgment, deal authentically with complexity, and use practical wisdom. The machine brings the processing power, we bring the purpose. Finally, Section 6, the age of self-leadership, synthesizing IQ, EQ, and SQ. Let's bring the brain, the wave, and the compass all together to build a unified framework for the modern professional. Just look at how beautifully this all synthesizes. IQ is the brain, allowing us to think. EQ is the wave, allowing us to manage ourselves and others. SQ is the compass, allowing us to direct our values. By actively integrating all three, we completely upgrade our internal operating system. We transition from just mindlessly reacting to tasks to actually navigating a complex world with real intention. And this synthesis leads to a brilliant concept that organizational researchers Charles Mons and Henry Sims call superleadership. But the absolute secret to superleadership is that it's based entirely on individual self-leadership. You can't effectively guide a team of humans or direct a suite of autonomous digital agents, for that matter, if you don't first have mastery over your own cognitive processing, your emotional regulation, and your deep-seated purpose. You have to lead yourself first. So, as we step into this new era alongside AI, a world where everything that's easy to teach and test has become easy to digitize and automate, I want to leave you with this final crucial thought. In an intelligent world, our greatest responsibility is leading ourself. The machines are going to figure out the how. But what is your why, and how will you lead yourself today?